Of course. Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Mel. I'm a working homeschool mom of two, a preschooler and a middle schooler. And my curriculum for homeschool is freestyle. I enjoy watching homeschool content on YouTube, and I am tired of the repetition and everybody saying the same things at the same time. So I decided to have these conversations so that we can generate real topics of discussion to help benefit our homeschooling community. I am here today with one of my core community members, my other sister. Um,
Hi.
hey, Cara. And
Hey,
I
Mel.
would like you to introduce yourself to everyone who's going to watch this. And we want to get to know you and tell us about you and your homeschool journey by answering these four questions. Are you a working homeschool parent? How many children do you have? What are their grades? And what's your curriculum procedure?
Okay, hi, I'm Cara. I'm a working homeschool mom of five. I have four girls, the one boy. My oldest daughter is 13. She's going to eighth grade. I have a 12-year-old who is going to seventh grade girl. I have a girl who is 9 going to fourth grade. I have a girl who is 7 going to second grade. And I have my son, 5, going to kindergarten. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
What is your curriculum procedure?
Okay, so this year we are going back to being hybrid learners. So we will be having Mommy Teach, which is basically where I find different topics and then we do lessons with me on them. They're not from the computer or anything. It's just stuff that, we wanted to learn about where I'm more hands-on. And then, I mean, we may occasionally use YouTube or something if it suits. And then we're also using Time for Learning as our primary this year because I am going back to work. So I want to make sure that the kids are going to be able to have more accountability.
Okay, cool. When you were listing all your children and their grades, I was like, look at her trying to keep it all together, trying to keep it.
Yeah,
Because
it's too many.
I
It's
feel
too
like
many.
many times like, wait, what grade are our kids in? Because as homeschool parents, like grades really kind of don't matter, especially when you have kids who are reading at different levels in their grades or, doing math or something at different level. It becomes really confusing. And it
Yeah.
really doesn't matter until you're not comparing them until you have them like you're talking about other kids that are their peers and you're trying to get it straight or you're signing them up for something and they're like, okay, so what grade are they going
Well,
to?
most definitely. That's where all that great stuff came from because the older girls I know, the older three I know, but my youngest daughter because she needs work on her reading, so she's in her grade level at that. But with everything else, the math, science, things like that, she's above, and so it really throws me off because she does a lot of work with her sister who's right in front of her. So, yeah, I was like, I don't remember, but I remember it.
That's how you was getting it straight. You were.
Trying hard,
Um,
trying hard.
I know for my preschooler, I had her in, well, this topic is about hybrid education when it comes to homeschooling. I had her in um, a preschool, like a Head Start kind of thing, but it wasn't Head
Okay.
Start. Um, I know you know this already, but I had her in there to have the socialization aspect of, homeschooling, also to give myself a jump start on her learning things, but not it being strictly all me right now because I knew we weren't even in preschool yet. And I know the kind of pressure I put on myself just because I'm that competitive type of person, like mentally with myself, not even with anybody else, about okay, we in kindergarten, we in preschool, and here's what we're gonna do. Like I just set up track and I go right for it. I didn't want to do that to her when she wasn't really preschool age yet, and that the most
Mhm.
important thing for it to be fun. And I know me, yeah, it's fun, but it's not all focused on fun.
Right.
They
So
have to
I
have
hope.
a little bit of a balance. But I put her in there, and but they were teaching her. I was like, yeah, that's for the birds. So when she would come home, I'd really be teaching her something. But so I was low key really doing my thing with her, but not really because I didn't have to because I knew it was early. So I say all that to say I really get confused on where she's supposed to be right now because I feel like, oh, we done some work, but it's like, is she in kindergarten? Then I'm like, no, she's not. Like her age wise and where she actually should be, she is preschool. This is the year she start preschool. So some of the things she knows already are things that preschoolers aren't even being taught simply because they're just so relaxed on their education, which is fine for some people. But
Well, yeah, that's your school
okay.
because my son did Head Start and it was not that way. We had homework packets every week. I sent him there because he was a cute distraction, is what I would call him, and he had no desire to want to do school. Anytime I say we're going to do some learning or we're going to do school, no, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. That was his favorite phrase. And I mean, he didn't even want to hold a pencil. He's left-handed. No one in my household is left-handed, so that was also a challenge. So I sent him to Head Start because one, I needed him to socialize and I needed him to get that good grasp of his letters, his sounds, just basic things and having to have to do it and there being more accountability on both of our parts, getting up every day, making sure you're doing what you need to do. And I mean, he started, and when he started, because he was just turning 5, they thought that something was wrong with him, like intellectually. And so they're like,
Why?
oh, because he didn't meet. So there's a test that they have the kids take, and he had to do the 5-year-old test, but he was a fresh 5. So he had to do the 5-year-old test. And he did not pass by any means because he was a tablet or a dinosaur baby. He didn't care to want to do anything, no matter how hard I pushed it on him. So, I mean, it didn't take long for him to get adjusted, but I mean, they thought that he had a problem. They wanted to test him to make sure because he knew nothing. And I mean, he knew his name, he knew his first, last, middle name. He could tell you his birthday. He could hold the conversation with you down better than any of the kids in the classroom. It just, as far as knowing things, he knew his colors, and that was as good as that got. He could count, and that was it. But they were just really concerned. And then, like I told them, I said, no, he knows it because I would hear him when we're doing school when he would want to chime in and he'll tell us certain things. So I knew he knew stuff, but it was just more of him being stubborn. And so once he got in there, I think it didn't even take 2 months and the lady was like, oh no, oh my goodness, he's so fine. Yeah. And when he tested out, he tested at a first grade level. And so that was good. But it was like he knows his sounds, he can recognize his letters and colors and do basic math and things like that. It just was him being stubborn and me not forcing it on him because I kept saying, well, he's got a lot more time left. He's got a lot more time left. But I realized I did that with my youngest daughter, and I didn't push her or have her to do a lot of things because I'm like, oh, she's younger, she has time. And that really kind of hurt me and her because it set us back a little bit because she didn't know a lot of things that her other sister or siblings knew, so she couldn't keep up. And I didn't have the patience to try to teach her because it's like, if I said, what letter is this? What sound is this? And you're telling me all day long, oh, I drew this A. Okay, but if I'm pointing to an A, you didn't know it. So it just really gave us a better head start and hence in the name, but it really did set him up. And so I feel so good for him to join our homeschool this year because there's no more Head Start kids in kindergarten.
Yeah, so what you said is exactly what I was talking about earlier, because you said he was a fresh 5. And that makes a difference in these grades, right? That's why I'm confused when I say, like, oh, what grade is she supposed to be in? But you were talking about how you didn't really do this with your youngest daughter, and you saw what happened with that. And this is why I also feel like as a homeschool parent, my mind just fast tracks on what we're supposed to be doing and what we're going to do, because I feel like you said, a head start's important. So that's why I did my own kind of head start by starting before, where it's like less pressure. But so you said you really didn't do that for your youngest daughter. And so for your son, it was around 5 where you really started like teaching him other things. I guess what you're saying, like uh with intention, like he knew that we're about to do learning, that kind of thing. How old were your other 3 when you actually started to homeschool? Like try to teach them something.
So my oldest, she was 3. When we first did anything, she went to daycare. She was like 2, 3 maybe. And then the same thing for my second daughter, she was 2, 3. She would go, they went to like an ABC land type of school. And so it was daycare, but it was also school as well. Like they played no games either with making sure the kids knew stuff. once I took them out of that, I mean, it was just basic whatever we were doing at home, and I was a lot more lax with my second daughter. But I did put her into preschool because my oldest daughter did go to public school to entertain kindergarten. And so she did that, and then the other one went to preschool. And so we did basic learning, but I wasn't really strict on anything. And then for my third daughter, she did Head Start from the time she was 2 until she turned 4, because she turned 5 in the summer. So school would be over for her to go to kindergarten. And I mean, she, in my opinion, had the best experience learning wise, because she got it from very early on, whether it was from me or from the school, and then it was very continuous. Whereas the other children, it was whatever they had at daycare, and then whatever little bit, like with my oldest daughter, I remember teaching her the letters of her name and teaching her to write her name well beforehand, but that was as good as that got. And then when she did whatever she did in school, that's just what she did in school. And so it took a lot for me to try to get everything together to make sure that everyone was going to be on the right track. So I saw early on how it helped with my third daughter, and I wish I could have done it with my fourth daughter and put her into preschool or Head Start or something. It's just COVID was like, no, not up in this house. So I didn't do that, but I should have. I mean, I could have been more hands-on too, but I did dabble into work and stuff like that. So with 5 kids, I just pretended like I didn't have the time, even though I could have.
Okay. Um, so I saw a question, because this is, being recorded live and people was all in the comments and stuff. But I saw a question saying, asking you about your son being the youngest, and asking if, like, what do you feel like contributed to his stubbornness? But before you ask that, I just want to say what I'm getting is that it's not even about the child's stubbornness. It's about the vibe I'm getting is that, like you said, you have 5, and with that one being your youngest, you felt really relaxed, like you had time. And I
Yep.
feel like that was the key to his inability to take it school as something serious, or as something that he saw as a thing to do, or as a thing that we do in this house. Because I know a lot of times with the youngest, especially boys, if in your case, because I have as well, there's 4 girls and then 1 boy when it comes to our sibling. You know that. That's the same dynamic. So you might have been one way with the oldest that are all girls, and a little bit more lax with the boy. But what do you think contributed to his stubbornness?
In all honesty, me, because I was trying to make sure that I got everything else done with the girls, because it's like they're this age, they have to get this done. I didn't have that mindset of, well, I mean, okay, I'm not going to say I didn't have the mindset of early learning, because I did. Dakota, my fourth child, she sat in on homeschool. So did Dallas when she wasn't in preschool. Like they sat in and they learned things and they did things, but it was for him, it was whether it was me being just in between on what I really wanted to do, tug of war, but it was probably mainly me. I didn't hold him, and I didn't want to fight with him about having to learn and doing those things, because he was the youngest, and it took a lot more out of me to have that patience with him that I didn't have, especially with him being left-handed. It was like, if we're trying to trace, just do something simple. Well, it's hard for us to do hand over hand if mommy's right-handed and you're left-handed. So that also took like a strain on it. But in all honesty, it was just probably me not pushing him, not making him. I didn't want to upset him. I wanted it to be something that when it was time for him to do, he wanted to do, so that he enjoyed it more. Because I know with me personally, if I don't enjoy something, or if I don't have a desire to do it, I'm going to have that. Excuse me.
And
I'm
I
not going to
and I
put my
want
best foot forward.
You can cuss on this channel, not just kidding. But I, I'm listening to you, and it's making me think of a lot of times when I watch homeschool content on YouTube, whether it's a day in a life or whatever. I will see the older kids doing their work, and I will hear in the background the younger kids cutting up. Like I'm sitting there like, oh, poor, or not poor, rich little girl. I'm like, sweet little girl, or a little child who's trying to do their work. I don't see how you can concentrate with all that noise, right? And I feel like it's the parents' job to keep the environment somewhat calm. I'm not going to say calm like there's no disturbance, but keeping it calm to the point where a kid is able to focus, right? Because at these other schools, it ain't just people ain't just cutting up left and right and you told them to take a
You know,
test. You know
well,
what I'm
there
saying?
are, but actually there are though. I've had friends who've
Well,
had their
well,
kids in public school, and there are
and I
kids
know,
literally.
so I'm not saying that it's perfect in either way, but my
Right.
point of me saying this is
I get
that
you. I get you.
um this is a real thing, that when you have children of different ages, especially big age gaps, or somebody crying because they don't want to do something versus somebody sitting there just giving me like a little bit pushback, that's two different things. So I do, part of why I sent my child to the early pre-K is socialization. And during that, it was only like 2.5 hours. During that little 2.5 hours, I had intense focus with me and my older one. So that was my way of having the environment where it was that my older child was able to focus, and it was an
Mhm.
intensive one-on-one. But then when the other child came back, I could do stuff with them, and it wasn't like I was dividing my attention in such a way where I wasn't able to give to my older child too. And so I'm saying that in your case is that that's what I'm getting to, is that once you sense the disruption that the youngest one can cause, um, it was more of a, should I tend to that and focus on that when technically I'm doing stuff early with him, or should I just, let that be and focus on the priority right now, which is the oldest ones.
Right.
I see it happening a lot too with people, and it's a dance, right? Like it's not like a set way of dealing with that. It all depends on what you can make happen. But
And especially because my girls are used to just jumping in with their brother at any point in time. So cute distraction, like I said, because he'd whine about something or he'd want something open and they're like, oh, we need to stop doing whatever. And it's like, no, we're in school, we're learning,
right,
and
this is
house
the
stuff stops. So yeah,
priority.
he definitely had to go to get to do so he can learn. And it worked great, really good.
Well, so this whole conversation is about hybrid education. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, because this leads right into our questions that I had for you, on a scale of 1 to 10, one being I could care less, two being very beneficial, what are your thoughts on hybrid education? And what I mean by hybrid education, just so everybody's clear, is the fact that even as a homeschool parent, you might have someone else or something else in some kind of way assisting in educating your child.
Oh, it's a 10. I care greatly. I love it. It is a godsend because for me, whether it is a online learning curriculum, whether it's my sister, my kids calling because they need help with something that I'm not home to help them with, or I just don't understand it. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? Can you show me that too? I love it. I yearn for it because it makes me better and it's another way to hold me accountable to make sure that my kids are getting the education that they deserve.
And I think you said something very important, which is that they're getting the education that they deserve. And I say that because the reason why I bring up the hybrid education part of homeschool is because there are so many homeschool parents that I hear of on YouTube who are who make it seem as if they have to do all the teaching, they have to know everything, and that they also must be the teacher of everything for it to be considered homeschooling, or for them to be considered a homeschool parent. And I find that that may work for some people for some reasons, but there are plenty of resources available to us as homeschool parents and for the homeschool students that will aid in their educational journey. And it's not limited to what we can do.
Most
Um,
definitely. I tell parents that all the time. They're like, why do you homeschool? Why do you like it? Are you kidding me? It's like, well, you must be a teacher. No, I didn't go to school for that. Like, I'm learning if they're learning, if I don't remember or don't, didn't know it. But no, that's the best part. There's so many different ways that you can teach your child. It's just not one way. And in all honesty, some kids get bored of hearing their mom talk, you're doing school and then you have to be the mom and then you have to be the enforcer for this. And then you got to go be the coach for that. And it's like, mom, hush. So no, it definitely comes great to either have an online curriculum or a sibling or a co-op or something to be able to help to step in to help you, a tutor, whatever it is, because no, you don't have to do everything. And if you try to do that, you're not going to enjoy it as much as you could if you just took advantage of the things around you, in all honesty.
yeah, they're all tools and resources. One of the first resources I used when it came to hybrid education, outside of the fact that my oldest went to preschool before I even thought about being a homeschool parent, didn't even know what that was. But he was, and I was teaching him then because I was doing Kumon with him, teaching him how to read. But I didn't look at that as homeschool. But the first, when I was actually homeschooling, the first hybrid thing I did with my child was out school. Um,
I remember
and
that.
what I noticed is that my child will take instruction from someone else like he is can't wait to learn some stuff, right? Like you tell him, he remember it and he do it and he do it. But when I was doing it, it'd be like he would have so much resistance toward it, and he would write down the notes and stuff and be like, all right, do the problem. And he'd act like he didn't even see his notes in front of him. Like it's like a round and round merry-go-round type of game. But when he learned it from someone else, and I mean, I'm not saying that person was better or not. That's not what this is about. This is about how he received it. And like you said, I'm mom. And I get that from my oldest a lot, is that's mom. I don't even like to hear her lecture to me when I do something bad. I don't want to hear her lecture to me on how to do this geometry. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Mhm.
he tunes out in a different kind of way when it's me. Um, he tunes out in a lot of kind of ways when it's me. And so when it's someone else teaching him, he kind of tunes in. But that's different because when we were doing Kuman, he would check out from them and they would have to come call me, and me and him would do our lesson and it'd be seamless. So it all depends. I know how to swim. I used to teach swim lessons. He would not take swim instruction from me. I have to pay for swim lessons for him to learn how to swim. Same thing with my daughter. And so I just say that to say that was one of the perks of hybrid education that I saw, which was that I got to see how my children took instruction from other people, which I feel is beneficial because they're not always going to be taught lessons in life from me. You know,
Right.
when if they decide to go to college or further their education in some other kind of way, they're going to have other instructors outside of me. How do they hold up there? So yeah.
I can agree to that. I couldn't wait when my son went to preschool. I couldn't wait to see like, oh my goodness, is he going to listen to somebody else? You know, but he did. He was like, oh my God, if we could have a school full of Austins, everything would be amazing because he was just that good. Now you come here and it's like, no, I'm okay. No thanks, mom. But at school, he was just great playing t-ball. He was great. He took direction well from others, and so it made everything more enjoyable for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and with the um I know that you know already that my children both so far have had a hybrid education where my son dibbles and dabbles in 1 year of elementary school, 1 year of middle school, and then if he wants 1 year of high school, like that type of thing where they've actually been having their school journey through the public school, through Montessori school, through other means than me, and even through different things in co-op. And my daughter so far with the preschool type of thing, I plan to do the same kind of thing with her. What about your children's journey when it comes to the hybrid education, starting from 1 through 5? Um, in what ways were they taught, if by any, by other institutions and yourself?
Like I said, previously, my oldest went to kindergarten. She entertained third grade as well, and then COVID
Public
happened. So
school?
yeah, public school. So we're back home. We also use co-ops. We use Out School as well briefly. That wasn't my cup of tea. I did like it, but it wasn't for me in that moment. And then we did, what was that other thing? Well, the co-op. The co-op was really interesting, but we really only used it for like gym, things like that, so that it was like a fun socialization, not really like a lot of hands-on learning. And then our library program, we did that. The kids
Yeah.
enjoyed that. All of them did that. That was something that was not only educational but fun as well. Miss it tons. Wish they would come back. But then for my second daughter, she went to preschool. She went to what was that? I think she was in second grade in public school as well. My third daughter, she did pre-K from the moment she was 2 until she, like I said, she turned 4, was about to turn 5, to get ready to go to kindergarten. Other than that, she's had no outside public school type of thing, but she has used the library program. She's used tutoring. She's had a tutor. Some occasionally she'll go to like her aunts or something and do like school there with them and learn new things and love to come back and tell me about the ways that they do things at their house and with their homeschool, and all the stuff that they have to do homeschool with, which makes it so much fun for her. So that was good. With my older girls as well, when I did start my homeschool journey, I started my homeschool journey with my sister, as you're aware. And to me, that's right, you. And that was it was a great, like, I just loved it. I took it for granted. I know I did, but it was like I was trying to work and trying to homeschool and trying to do all these things, open a daycare, like did all these things. And so I didn't get to put, my best foot forward as I could have done more. I mean, I did do little things here and there, lunch and different stuff like that, like, coming up with projects or field trips and things or outings and stuff. And that was fun.
You're
But
very creative.
no, I tried to be
You're very
creative.
creative. Yeah. Hmm.
But no, like that was the best. I know my kids enjoyed that. They loved going to their cousin's house and doing school, from the setup, from like having the lockers to their desks to like having to physically leave the house for the other kids was an ideal thing for them. So that was a lot of fun. And then just for my youngest daughter, she really hasn't had any other than the library program. And then she too will go sometimes to an aunt or something and enjoy their homeschool. She's had tutoring. And then my son, he'll embark on our journey now, but just his public school. So yeah, everyone's had a little bit of something. But this year, I know for sure we're doing our time for learning. We joined a co-op that the library is having now. It's a little bit different than what they had before, but we're gonna try and give it a shot and see if we like it, if we don't. And then this year as well, my kids are going to be joining a lot of after school programs, the older girls, just something to get them more social, just so they can learn how to be comfortable around like kids their age and see, different things and experience different things that they might not learn while they're playing their sport. Everyone's doing that as well. They all got me busy this year, so should be very interesting.
Well, good. So it sounds like your hybrid journey of education um, is developing because even with your youngest one, he kind of started off hybrid, too. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah,
And I just want to say too, like how us homeschool parents are uh, utilizing outside resources, whether it's the public schools, private schools, or just these other programs and stuff, co-ops and stuff that are out here. Um, Public school or private school kids and their families can also benefit from supplementing and doing hybrid education when it comes to homeschooling. Like, because honestly, even when my children are in those institutions, I still homeschool them because to me it's a well-rounded type of education that they're getting at that point. And I encourage people who are public school parents or private school parents or whatever, in that angle to also take some of the topics you're learning when it comes to homeschooling or look at your child and see what they actually need to where they need to develop at and supplement that at home, do your own version of homeschooling so that the kid
yeah,
can
because the bus
be
doesn't
well
stop at
rounded.
public school. It doesn't
Yeah.
stop at public school. That's not
Learning
the end all be
exactly.
all. You got to keep doing
It
it
does.
at home too.
Yeah. And so the next question that I have for you is you already spoke a little bit on this, we kind of dibbled and dabbled, but it's what do you do when you realize the child needs to learn something that you don't feel equipped enough to teach? And I say this because I was having a conversation with a friend and he was like, I don't know how you do the homeschool stuff. My daughter's in third grade, and when she come to me with a division problem, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Go to your mama. And I said, third grade division. What was she dividing? And like he told me, it was probably like 20, 25 divided by 12 or something like that, right? And I'm like, you don't know how to do that? He's like, no, I don't know how to do that. He was like, see, that's why I don't homeschool. And I said, trust me. He was like, I was never good at math. I said, trust me, as an adult, if you go back and you relearn it, go back and teach yourself, it's going to click like this. I said, it might not
Mhm.
for you back then because you were younger. You had, there was probably some other gaps there that you didn't know that you need to get filled before you learned it. You wasn't really focused on school, like so many different reasons why. at such an early age before our brains are fully developed, that we don't understand something. I said, but as an adult, no matter what you knew as a child, I'm pretty sure you can pick it up. And he was just like, no, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try. And I was like, hey, you, you're limiting yourself. Go back and try, because even if you feel like you're just going to send her to her mom to figure out the answer, you will be impressed by yourself to see what you can actually learn now, just trying to learn it so you can be knowledgeable, or that much more knowledgeable for your child. So that's where that question comes from. And that is a public school parent talking to me, saying the reasons why they would never homeschool. And it's basically because they feel ill equipped to homeschool. And so, and I was trying to let him know that too. Even though I was in honors and AP classes, went to college and things like that, there are some things I'm going to have to go back and reteach myself, simply because you really don't use a lot of stuff that they teach you in school, which is why I try to gear my homeschool towards stuff that we are going to use. But even with that, right? Sometimes we don't feel like we have either the right equipment. We may know how to teach it, but it's chemistry. We don't have a lab or something, right? Or I don't remember how to do that, or I don't know how to do that. What is it that you do when you realize your child is ready to learn something that you felt ill-equipped at teaching?
So my first thing is, if I have the time and it's like not coming up, like lately I've been getting on trying to look ahead to see what they're learning, to know if I'm going to need to reteach myself or anything like that. We'll use a
And this
lot
is
of
you.
things.
This is you saying that you're using what program right now?
Right now this year we're using time for learning. We haven't started yet. School for us doesn't start until September.
And so
But
last year you were using.
last year we did all in one. It was an online homeschool curriculum that I
Okay.
purchased, and it
So
was,
when you're
yeah, when we did that one.
so when you're saying look ahead, you're saying that you're not making the curriculum
Mhm.
set, but you want to make sure you're on top of what they're about to learn in case they need
Yeah,
your help. Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Making it
It's
clear.
okay. And in case they need my, yeah, I'll look at the table of contents, see what's coming up this week or in the next few weeks. And if it's something that I realize like, oh my goodness, I can't remember, or like I can get pieces of it, but it's not all there. I'll call my sister and I'll be like, hey girl, what you doing? Let me send you this math problem. And then I'll ask her, to kind of talk me through it, to tell me how she got there, things like that. Or I'll use Mr. J, like I'll watch teach videos to try to learn things again. That's like a YouTube guy that I've seen, or we'll use like Khan Academy or something and watch their videos sometimes to try to like relearn things so that I can get equipped to teach them. But I mean, if not, my kids, for the longest time, I didn't realize, like I'd hear them in their room on the phone. I'm like, who the heck are they on the phone when they're supposed to be doing school? So then I kick the door open. I'm like, who are you talking to? Because you're supposed to be doing school. And lo and behold, they're talking to my sister, like, oh, well, I just had a quick question. And it's like, I'm just sitting here like, you don't see me? Like, come out your room. You see, I'm waiting for, I'm thinking y'all got it all down packed. And instead of asking me, they're calling her. I mean, that's fine, but it was like, okay, that's what I'm here for. So after a couple years of that, it got more or less like, let me call her first to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I pull everybody out their room so that you have your headphones and you can do your learning. But if you need help, you can see that that's what I'm here for, because then that's when I was stationed. I was in the house, but you went to everyone but me.
Well, yeah, they did go to other people. I know I would get calls. It was fine. But I'm saying to say is that what you end up teaching your children, because you really do, if you don't know something, I know you really do go figure out how to get the information to equip yourself educationally to teach them. And I think that you have taught them how to do that as well. They won't just sit there and struggle. They see when they need help and they're going to go to the closest resource that they can, even if it's picking up that phone, because sometimes the phone is closer than shouting you out the door, mama needs your help. Because I will call my
Yeah.
son sometimes and be like, hey, what you doing in your room, can you come over here, so sometimes the phone is closer than or they might think that they're bothering you or whatever the case, you know what I'm saying, because you do
Yeah, for
other
sure.
speech. But I feel like you taking the lead on doing what you have to do to get that knowledge and information for them, they also know they have the agency to do that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so all the same ways that you said that you do when you don't know something is the same thing I do. Uh, and so I have some friends who teach schools and things like that. So I might even reach out to them and ask them things as well. I go on YouTube, figure things out. I get books from the library, that kind of thing. But I know that one of my first things when I realized I'm literally doing this because I don't feel equipped. That was science. Uh, my oldest was really into science at the time, especially different experiments, and I felt like it would be beneficial for him to see a science lab, like a real science lab, not just going in the kitchen doing an experiment, like all the stuff for science, right? And so I had paid for this. It was a co-op program, but I only signed him up for the science portion of it, and it was cool and everything, and he got what he needed. But I realized after going there how simple it was to go ahead and go on one of these little science sites and pay for the equipment. You know, you can pay for the equipment yourself and have it. And so that's what I ended up doing. But I learned this by sending him to the hybrid, to the other place, you know, having the hybrid
Right.
education and being able to see how they did it. But yeah, sometimes we really don't feel equipped and it's okay. And that's why we have our core community, like how we do. We can talk to each other and then we can say just that, oh, your child's struggling on this. Oh, I tried this before or whatever. So like we talk to each other and figure that thing out. And so before we get out of here, we're going to ask you two other questions about your homeschool experience when it comes to hybrid education and just your homeschool journey in
Okay.
general. Uh, so what aspects of homeschooling are most rewarding to you?
Oh my God, the fact that I get to be around my kids. Like, I have 5 kids because I just want to look at children all day. Like, I really love and enjoy being around them, watching them grow. I feel like I don't really miss a beat. Because I remember, like, I don't know, I think I had my oldest too, and I dropped them off at daycare sun up. Someone else would pick them up sundown, and I come home, kiss them because they had already gotten their bath or whatever, and they were already in bed. And that was the extent of sorry, that was the extent of our day. So, I just enjoy being able to be around them and being an accountable, not gonna say an accountable mom, but just like being able to be someone that they know, like, hey, if I needed whatever it is, she's right here. I just enjoy being able to be around them. And the fact that I know that they're safe, I know what they're learning. It's limited distraction because, my kids are all different. I have one who rises early and oh my goodness, she starts her day at like 5:45 or something, stretching and doing yoga and meditating and all this stuff and brushing her teeth and cleaning her face. She's got a whole routine. And then she'll sit down and she'll start school right for 7 a.m. And it's like, okay. And you're looking, I've got one who's up at 5:30, but she's playing with toys because she's little, and another one who's sleeping until 12 o'clock because that's when she wants to get up. So I think this year I'm embracing everyone being different, and I am not going to be like, hey, because we're doing school, we're going to have to do it between these hours and these hours. No, everyone is different. I have some people who thrive in the morning. I have some people who thrive later in the day, might want to wait until they get all their sleep. So it's going to be really interesting because we're trying to kind of cater to everyone's needs this year, as well as the fact that I'm working and in order to be able to work, I need to be able to shake some things up. So I just love the fact that we can do it whenever we want to, however we want to. And I just got to make sure I hold myself to it and make sure that I'm accountable for what we're learning.
That's beautiful because you were talking earlier about the curriculum that you're going to be doing, which is time for learning. And I believe that that is 100% online. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's going to work in your favor with the curriculum because that's the curriculum you chose this time,
Yeah.
which is the online platform. It's going to work because that one who gets up at 7 a.m. and wants to get started can knock it out. And the other one who gets up at 12 o'clock who wants to start it can still do it too. And it really doesn't conflict with what you have to do. Besides,
Yeah.
hey, did you do your stuff? And like you said earlier, making sure that you're on top of knowing what they are being taught, so you're ready if you need to see where they're at and what they're learning.
Yeah, they're gonna have a
Um,
lot of hands-on supplemental work. We're gonna have folders and things over here. Like I got little slot things back here, and everyone's got their own one. And it's like, okay, this is your folder of work based off whatever it is you're supposed to be learning for that week. You're gonna have more work on top of just what they give you on the computer because it's quick. It goes by fast. Like if you do your 2 lessons and then this and that, and then you're done here and there. It gives you a little bit of learning work, but they're gonna need more hands-on to make sure that they are repetition is key. So to make sure that they're still learning. So, we're going to do things like that. But yeah, that's going to be the bulk of their learning is going to be that. And then, of course, I don't let anyone move on until I know that you're able to hold your own with whatever it is you're learning. So you're going to get a test from them. You're going to get a test from me. And if you pass, then you can move on. And that's great. So it should be interesting this year.
Yeah, and what's most rewarding for you, you said, is the fact that you get to basically spend time with your children. And time does fly. Time
Yeah, my
does
oldest is about to
fly.
be 14.
Yeah, so the homeschooling process goes quickly, and so the fact that you're trying to that your rewarding part is that you get to spend time with them, and the fact that you're trying to learn them and customize your homeschool toward how they learn best or the times in which they learn best is going to be beneficial as you guys continue on your journey, as far as it goes with you feeling like it's rewarding that you're spending time with them, because you'll be able to spend time with them more seamlessly when you're going with the flow of everybody, but
Yeah,
it's not interrupting the flow. Because
yeah, for sure.
some people actually don't, what's most rewarding for you sometimes is not what other people want. Like they like, how can you be in your house with all these kids or with your kids
Oh my
24/7?
God, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't nothing. Really? You do this sober? Yeah.
Don't you crave adult time? And it's like, I get adult time, you know what I'm saying? But you have to have balance. You have to know how to do that and have balance. We do love our kids, because I am the same way as you. One of the most rewarding things for me is to be involved with my kids, interact with my kids, and build that relationship. Because I feel like that's one thing that people who don't homeschool their children miss out on, is because the most part of their days, as between like 5 and 18, are spent at
That's
school,
cool.
and
Yep.
for the
You
parents
don't
it's
know.
spent at work. So we are developing these relationships and getting to know all these other people better than we're knowing the ones we gave birth to and who's in the household with us. So that is also one of the reasons why I find it to be rewarding as well. um I forgot what I was saying with, but other people feel like they don't want to be with their kids 24/7. They actually want to get out their house and do XYZ. And that's fine. Besides, I just want to say that as much as I love my children and love spending time with them and my husband, my family, I also create the time for me time. And for me time, it could be something I'm doing on my own, and also create the time for my siblings, my mom, my friends. I can have more ownership of my time, where I'm not feeling like when I finally get a second, in order to be a good parent, I have to do all these things with my kids. When I finally get a second, I can do these things with my friends and myself, because I have been being a good parent this entire time with my time. I have been being a good wife this entire time with my time. So I can continue on with that and still branch out. Um, did you have anything more to say? Because somebody's raising their hand. I would like to see what they have to say before I ask you
Oh
final.
no, go ahead. Sure, go ahead. I'm
Okay. All right.
good.
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that a lot of parents miss out on the fact that they don't have to have any blanks filled in. Like, you don't have to wait for a school or a teacher or, someone administratively to tell you, what's going on with your child. So I think that that's one of the benefits also to homeschooling, is that you are in the know all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So
I see that.
that was Shay from earlier, the other interview we did, our other sister. This is part of our core community of homeschool.
The
But
sister.
so what she's basically saying, well, what I'm getting that you're saying is that one of the benefits of or one of the most rewarding aspects of homeschooling is the fact that you know your child better than anybody else. Or better than the teachers and stuff, or like what's going on with them. You're not waiting for somebody to say, "Oh, I've been noticing this and this about Billy," right? You know what you know about Billy and why. You can actually call the school and say, "Hey, if Billy comes today and he's acting like this, here's why. Here's how we deal with it." You are the knowledgeable person when it comes to your child. You're not waiting on anybody else to tell you something about the child you live with and gave birth to. So
Yeah,
I
and
think
you
that
definitely, for me, I think watching my kids grow older, and like I said, I'm about to have a 14-year-old, and we all know like that's like everyone says, "Oh my God, you have a teenager and it's a girl." Oh, this and that and all that. Those problems that those people have, I don't have. So,
perfectly
I mean,
Ashe.
Perfectly ashe, right. If it's gonna be, it's gonna be. Like, we got little things moving slow, attitude, but I got attitude for days. So come on, let's do it. You wanna have an attitude? I'm gonna have one too. Let's see how far this is gonna get us. Cause I'll go there with you. But it's all in fun. But I just love it because like we still communicate. Like I have friends who have kids my age and they're like, they don't talk to me, they're in their room, they're this, they're that, I don't know what's going on. And it's like, how you don't know what's going on? But I mean, everybody teaches on because everybody's different. But me, I'm not that parent. I pay for this phone. Hand me the phone. If I said turn it off, I'll just turn it off. Like, "Boop, your phone, come on out and socialize. I'm cutting the Wi-Fi off. Okay, we all in here doing things together. Like yesterday, family movie. You might not want to watch this movie, and it was 3 hours long, but we all have been here watching this movie. So come on. But I love it.
Join the family.
Yeah, time for family.
But I said join the family. But
Yeah, that
what
part.
you're saying also weaves into a rewarding aspect of homeschooling, which is that you start to reflect on yourself as a person when you're watching your children, their interactions with you, how they deal with stuff, their attitudes, whatever you see from your children, you are shown it for a reason. And how you handle it, is for a reason. Maybe that's an area you need to improve in. Maybe, like you said, you got the biggest attitude. Well, work on your attitude before you and my nieces. Okay?
Yeah. It's all in fun. It's all in fun though, because we laugh about it, but it's like, no, for real. I mean, we can sit here and we can have an attitude and we can be angry and we can not want to get it done, or we can just get it done and do it right the first time so you don't have to do it over again. And it'll pay for itself in the end.
Yeah, and as you are building your relationship with your children and teaching them, watching them grow and learn, you can see the same thing in yourself, even when it comes to how you used to handle certain things with your oldest versus how you're dealing with it with your youngest when it's the same mode of education. Like Kuman, I'm handling it completely different from how I did my oldest child. And he'd be trying to act like my old version of me with her. Like, no,
That's how mine are.
Hey, she good, chill, she's fine. But anyway, that comes to the last question that I have for you, which are your biggest challenges when it comes to homeschool? And so I'm gonna answer this first because I like to do this. I like to ask questions. The last one and give my perspective first before you do, because it is a conversation, not really an interview. So when it comes to my biggest challenge that I've had with my children, I'm gonna speak on actually both of them. It's the same. It's the biggest challenge for one was it for both of them. So I guess it was my biggest challenge. And that is resistance. When I feel any kind of resistance toward when it's time to learn. It takes up so much of our time when the biggest part of this lesson, I can't even teach the lesson yet because I have so much pushback. I have the rolling of the eyes, acting like they can't find their stuff. So why do we have to do this? I have, or didn't I say take notes? Why are you not taking notes and not looking? Ain't no notes being taken. Like I have a lot of that where it's a lot of wasting our time. And by the time we teach this lesson that should have been about 15, 20 minutes with you doing your examples, so you have the rest of the time to actually work on some stuff. After 35 minutes, we are just now getting to the lesson. And that's because we had to have all these little lectures, mini lectures going around on, all the resistance that I was feeling. And that's not just in my oldest who's in middle school. This is also my preschool child who wants to whine and act like she can't concentrate and stuff like that. So that was my biggest challenge. I was feeling like they were wasting my precious time. And I'm a time management person. I'd be like, after we finish this, I could do X, Y, Z. And now X, Y, Z is cut short because of how y'all acting, right? So anyway, in order to remedy that, what I did when I came across that challenge is I started to pay my children to do school. And so when I was in college, that was the first time I ever got paid to be in school. And I was like, this is what we need. People have good grades if they got paid to be in school, right? And so I also want my children to realize that they are doing school for their future. They are doing school for whatever job, career they're going to start, get in, whatever the case is. So this is the key. So I'm paying them my rate so they can understand that it should just go up from there type of thing. And this is what I do now. If I feel resistance, I'm like, oh, you don't know where your stuff is, you're not ready to learn your stuff today, or whatever the resistance is. Okay, well, then I guess you're just not getting paid today. And it's okay, got my stuff, whatever. They always want to get paid. So then they just drop it and they get there ready to learn. And it's been working for both of them. And I feel like they deserve it as well. I feel like every student should get paid to go to school. I feel like that would solve so many different problems in the world. But anyway, that was my biggest challenge, and that it was my remedy for it. So now you can answer, what is your biggest challenge and what is your remedy for it?
My biggest challenge is different for all of my children. It's like I don't have one thing that is worse than another. I know for my oldest daughter, it's organization. It's like, where the stuff at? Like, if you just do what I asked you to do, every subject has a different color. Just write in the notebook. When you're done with it, put it in your backpack or put it over here. Do whatever you're asked to do, and it makes it so much easier. So that's our biggest resistance is organization. And so I've come to realize I'm spending a lot of money on buying things just to make it so that it's easy. It's we're not spending a lot of time like, oh, I don't know where this is. Like I can't find it. Like when they were doing book club and they'd have all the answers to everything and we've gone over it and we just did it 20 minutes ago. But like when you're finished, I just ask you if you could just put it away. You know where it's at. And then we're spending time having to look for your stuff. So organization, talking to you, learning like, oh, you know how you pay your kids. I pay mine if they're this one in particular, she's organized because it made it easier and it's more rewarding for her to see like, man, didn't this go seamless? So if we could just do this all the time, how it would be, or writing like little love notes, like with reminders, like, and putting them on your desk or on your wall or wherever it is you're going to be learning for the day, little sticky notes just reminding you like, hey, use certain folders for this. Don't forget to do this. Is everything in my backpack? Having your checklist to make sure that you know you're doing what it is that you need to do. For my second daughter, I really don't feel like I have much resistance. She loves to learn. She loves to do all that stuff. It's more or less of I'm not even gonna say time management because she's so good. Like if I could have a whole bunch of her, it'd be cool. But I mean, what would that be like? Because they'd all be the same. So I love the challenges. I mean, more or less with her, I think this year it's gonna be she has a job. And so she is
And a
infatuated with
sport.
and she's so she has a job and she's playing a sport. And so now she needs to see if she can kind of like hold her own, so to speak, like she has been doing. We've never really had a problem, but I know that she is for the love of money. She is for the love of doing whatever it is she wants to do. And my biggest thing is going to be making sure that she still stays on point and holds herself accountable and knows that, hey, if you got to work, you got to make sure that you still keep being on your time management and getting everything done, knowing like, you know, if I got volleyball, if I got to go to work tomorrow, or whatever the case may be, making sure that everything is done and just staying on top of it, keep being you. And also not rushing through everything. She does need to slow down. Like if you just I mean, it's great to get it all done real quick so you don't have to worry about it again. But when you do stuff like that, especially if you're not going to refresh your brain, like when we do book club or stuff like that, it's like, you know, so just slow down. But I mean, that's our biggest resistance. She always wants to finish everything right there. I got to finish it right now. And it's like, okay, that's great. But you should have left some for tomorrow to make sure that it's still up here. And it's not just the when you get to it, like, oh man, what do I have to do? I gave you a paper that I tell you should take you a week to do, and you want to get it all done right then, you know, you don't have to rush to get everything done. It's okay. For my third daughter, I think it's gonna be oh, she doesn't like being told what to do, child. I don't know, but she does real good when it comes to school. She does good. She likes to learn. She too was playing a sport, playing volleyball. She's going to be very active. So I think for her, it's just going to be making sure that she knows it's okay to say, "Hey, I don't care what grade you're in my household. If you need a nap, you need a nap." So if you still feel like you're cranky, if you're not giving things your best shot, if you want a nap, baby, go take a nap. Tell mama you checking out and I need a nap, and that's okay because not everybody can just go all day. She's on a lot of different medications. They affect her energy level and attitude and stuff like that different ways. So if you need a nap, you need time to yourself, go take that. It is perfectly fine. For my fourth daughter,
Sleepy kids are definitely part of the resistance that I had to deal with. Sleepy kids.
big time. So take a nap. I don't care. Take a nap. You need a nap? take a nap. But that's also part of the reason why it's like, when are we doing school? Like, when you get up, when you think you thrive best in trying to get school done, because it doesn't take 6 hours. Though my son is used to being in Head Start and doing school for 6 hours continuously, other than his nap time and his lunchtime, it's like, no, we're not doing that. This is different. So that would be a good transition for him. But for my fourth daughter, it's gonna be girl, she's got to play with all her school supplies. She is so excited about school and she loves it and she's so hands-on, but she can't stop touching stuff. So nothing ever stays where it's supposed to, because she wants to do school with her teddy bears. And so they got to use her stuff and they got to do this, or she's having school with her little brother. So he needs to use this. And it's like, I need things to stay where we put them. And making sure she knows to trust herself. Like, you got this. Like, she'll be all day to figure something out. And it's like, you know it. Like, just trust yourself. That's going to be, I think, our biggest downfall is her believing in herself, knowing that her biggest thing
biggest challenge is not going to be your downfall. It's going to be your biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge, right? True. Biggest challenges. So she's always like, I don't think I can do this, or, I don't know how to read. That was her thing last year. I don't know how to read. I don't know. I can't read. I can't read. And I used to read.
Reading with me.
Thank you. That's my
just
thing.
fine.
Like, fluently is different, but you can do it. If you trust yourself and you try, you can get it done. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It's that you did it and you tried. Yeah, she was reading with J2. She did real good. And then for my son, I think it's just going to be making sure he's comfortable for one, and then just knowing that because he is left-handed, we're going to have to try to figure some things out. I'm still working on that, getting little grips and things, the ways for him to hold his pencil, and just making sure that he's comfortable. But I think my biggest challenge for him this year just may be mommy's being strict about it. He's my only boy, so I cater to him a lot. But I mean, I'm going to be strict about it because it's your education and it's very important. Like you were saying with your son, the way he is with his sister when they do Kumar is like how you were, crack the whip. Nah, so that you can get it done. Yeah. So if it hurts my feelings so bad that I can't get it done, I just know I can call on my second daughter and she gonna be over here drill sergeant it out, because that's how he learned to write his name. It was like, you can do it, and he spell his name, and it took him no time. I didn't even take him a day, and it was like, I can't do this. He was writing his name and stuff because she stayed on it. She drilled it into him. She's like, no, mom, you didn't play with us, so we're not playing with him. And she's right, but
I was the same kind of kid. I can't even focus.
Yeah. Lay up off my son, okay? But she definitely
does, because you ain't let us get rid of it. Okay. But you said something good, which was that those older children are very helpful when it comes to younger children, especially when it's something that is not even super hard, but it's just something that, okay, we still working on making this A look like an A. Okay, like something like that. But the older kids do come in handy. And I just wanted to say, I was going to say it before she put it in the chat, but our other core community member, Jay, she is left-handed, and I believe all her children are right-handed. So maybe, I don't know if all of them are or not, but I think some of them are. So maybe how you're thinking of yours being left-handed, you being right-handed, she might have had the same reservations about how she was going to teach her children if they aren't, writing with the same hand that she is used to writing with. So she may have some tips and tricks for you as well. And also, our mother is left-handed, and we all right-handed. So I don't know how she dealt with that, or if she did it all, or she was just like, oh, the teacher's gonna teach them. I have no idea. But
hey, that's what Head Start was for. She had our back. We was all in Head Start.
But you have people right there in your core circle, and it's interesting. We talk all the time, like homeschool stuff and just life in general. And I don't think I realized that was a real big part of what you saw as a challenge when it came to Awesome Sauce, simply because, like you said, the school was really the one starting to teach him. I didn't think that you really had started doing your own homeschool thing with him yet, but we had never talked about that aspect, I don't believe. So to hear you say that now and be like, oh, somebody, one of our core people deal with this too. She right there, to give you tips and resources as well. But thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to say to the people?
No, I know she had a question in the chat though that I thought was a really good question.
What was that question?
I think it was about like negative. Hold on, what did it say? Do y'all think there is a lot of negative or positive judgment surrounding homeschooling? And if it could be, I want to answer that question.
Go ahead.
So my mother is gung ho, homeschool your kids. Don't put them in that public school. I'm not playing with you type of
That
person.
principal lady.
Yeah, principal. Okay, she's principal of all of our 3 different homeschools, KK4L. But she's like that. But there are so many people who like I have all my friends.
Are
for
you
the most
talking
part,
about your in-laws too? No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, call her out. Call her out.
No, no. So for my friends, I know that a lot of them are like, oh my goodness, kudos to you. I could never. Or, oh, I would love to do that if I had this and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that there's too much judgment. Some people are like, oh my God, you homeschool all your kids. Like, are they social? Have you met my children? They can talk you up and down and they know how to hold their own with everything. But then again, you do run across people who don't understand why you choose to homeschool your kids. I mean, everybody has an opinion. That's fine. There are people who don't understand it. But if you look at the kid and you see how they're thriving, I don't understand the issue. But I mean, I do think that there are a lot of people who have judgment as it pertains to homeschool. But I mean, to each his own, and you got to do what's best for you. If my husband loves it, I love it. My kids are rocking with it. That's what we're doing. So that's who runs this household. So
Ooh, that's who runs the household. Oh,
yeah, stop it.
Yeah, you have to have thick skin
Yeah.
for being a homeschool mom, because I get a lot of judgment from coworkers who send their kids to school and they're like, oh no, and tell you why the
So
reasons
Timmy can
why
go be
they will
Susie.
never. Yeah.
Timmy's gonna
So
go be Susie in 2 minutes.
you have to
So.
you have to be sound in your decision of why you're homeschooling, and just understand that the judgment, good or bad, will come.
yeah. And so how you're talking about your co-workers commenting on your homeschool journey. When I left working from the state, and part of when I left, I gave this whole presentation about why I was leaving, because I was becoming a life coach, doing my own business, and I was being a homeschool parent. But
you did
when
very well at it.
that, huh?
You did very great at it. You was a homeschool teacher, not just
Thank
parent.
you. Yes, well, I didn't know I was going to be a homeschool teacher, but yes, when that happened, a bunch of my coworkers came to me saying, so how are you going to do it? What grades are you teaching? I'm like, my child's grade. Well, I was wondering if you could homeschool my kids. I'm like, homeschool your kids means like this isn't this. Like, no, you mean you're be sending them to my school? I don't have a school. I'm like, I don't have a school. I'm homeschooled. But they actually wanted me to, because they were already like my child was going fresh to kindergarten. They had children already in the school system, second, third grade and stuff, and was trying to ask me, and for real was trying to ask me if I could homeschool their kids. Oh, I can pay you, and it's like, it's not even about payment. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I just know my mine.
Yes,
sure. I had a lot of encouragement my way when it came to going to homeschool. And then even when I told y'all, nobody said you're crazy. Y'all was all like, what? How you gonna do this? Yeah, you can. You've been. It was nothing but encouragement from everyone, basically, who I talked to about it. Now, there are some people in my life, I would say, maybe my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, I don't know. They've never said anything that was particularly like, I'm glad that you're homeschooling, nothing like that. But also, we didn't really have any conversations like you shouldn't be homeschooling. I just don't think that those are our dynamics. But I really don't know, and really don't think about is a better word. Don't think about what their opinion is toward what I do. They see my kids, they hear my kids, they speak with my kids, they love my kids, they know what it is. So that's what it is. But when it comes to the homeschool journey, I also want to say it's not just about people looking at you like, do you really think you can teach them? What about their socialization? All I do, not all I do, but a big part of what I do is study things about homeschool and the homeschool journey. And what's been coming up recently for me is that there are a lot of people who use homeschooling in bad ways. They use homeschool to abuse their children. They use homeschool to keep their children from going to the doctor, from learning anything outside their little bubble that they want their kids to teach, like whether it be religiously or whatever. There's a lot of abuse that goes on through homeschool, just as there is a lot of abuse that goes on through the kids who go to public school. And it's
Yep.
only discovered a lot of times, the ones in public school, because they are in school. So there's a big fear about, if the kid is not outside of these parents, who knows if the parents are treating them right, and so on and so on. And from that angle, I become I'm trying to think of the word. I get disturbed when I read things about people who have abused their children and have done so through the guise of homeschooling them. So I think that that's one of the negative aspects about homeschooling, is the fact that so many things can happen in the home, and sometimes the child's only way of like escape from that is when they go to school and things like that. But that also happens in the public school sphere. Not saying that it's right for anybody, but a lot of the times that be the negative claim, is that people are really wondering what is your angle at keeping these kids from being with other teachers, keeping these kids from being with other children. And that's not always the case. Many of us as homeschoolers, we do co-ops, we do other things of socialization. We talk about hybrid, where our kids may dibble and dabble in other things. We're not the only teacher, but that's all about, huh?
I said joining sports and things like that. Those things last for a long time.
Yeah, and that's we aren't the only ones who are doing that. There are some great homeschool parents who are doing this for all the right reasons. So for those, any negativity that people are hearing about it, like, that's for the birds, because there's always going to be someone who has an opinion about you and what you're doing, simply because that's not what they're choosing to do. But the ones who are doing wrong and using homeschool as a guise, of course, negative is what negative is. And that's the same thing when it comes to anybody going to any kind of school. But yes, we definitely do check in with each other, as what's put in the comments, and with our children. I have conversations with your children about homeschool. You have conversation with my children about it. We do with Jay. She does with our kids, and so on. The in-laws who may agree or don't agree, they check in with our kids too on things like that.
All the time, all the
We'll check in
time.
with our kids too. Anyone who ever finds out that we homeschool our children, I feel like they just suddenly automatically do a check, like, oh, well, like, they start asking, what's your favorite colors? What color is this? What is that? Like, go ahead, quiz her. She got it, hands down. And she's gonna tell you some things you didn't know she even knew. Like, that's how people are, just because they hear homeschool. I just feel like it's so new. There's gonna be judgment on things that are ancient and things that are new. It doesn't matter. But I don't feel like that there's more pressure on homeschools as far as negativity than there is on public schools, because these public schools are getting real bad rep right now. So
Yeah. And it's funny you say that though, because I get a lot of people like doing what I do, like just on my clients and stuff like that. And I'm talking to them and they're like, oh, did your kids start school? And I'm like, oh no, we're homeschooling. We start in X amount of time. And they're, you homeschool? And it's like a lot of, people, like they really like it. Some people are like, oh my goodness, I wish I could have done that. But, circumstances, I had to work. I was a single parent. I was this, I was that, whatever the case may be. And then like, even when we were like doing like their end of the year fairs from summer and stuff like that, we would run into people, and like, especially a lot of older people though, they really love the fact that, because like they said, like if you think about back in the day, kids were homeschooled, or either if it wasn't homeschooled per se, there was no separating kids into different classes by their age. All the same kids were in the same building learning, and it was just whatever it was at your grade level. Everyone learned together. There wasn't separating them from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, this, that, and the third. There was none of that. It was everyone basically doing like a homeschool learning type of thing. Like I have one lady who, she was in school in a commune or a convent or something. I don't
commune.
Okay, so
Commune.
a commune. And so like the things that she learned, I mean, she knits and she sews and she does all this like very hands-on stuff. She's got a aerospace degree, something, I don't know. She's got a degree she went to school. She never used it though. Like but I mean, she had all different types of learning, from just where she grew up in India to, coming and being like here and doing whatever we did here. But she had a lot of different ways, and just to say that I'm homeschooling, a lot of people just love it. Like they're like, that's what we do, or that's what we're doing. And it's not just sit down here, learn this thing. We're going outside, we're learning stuff, we're growing things in our garden, we're learning how to like holistic medicine, just so to speak, or natural ways to cure things without having to put stuff in your body. And it's not that we're not for Tylenol, you know what I'm saying? But hey, maybe we didn't have enough of these meds because every time you turn on the TV, it's have you taken blah blah blah, and would you like to get
That was
compensation?
on our assessment test for my middle schooler this year. I wanted to see if he knew how to reduce a fever without medication. What are the things you do? And this is just like, because first aid is about to be part of what we learned this year. So yeah, that's
Cool.
funny. That was definitely part. You didn't even know that was on there, but yeah.
So send that to me over there. Hold now.
But what you were saying is right about how they used to do homeschool versus how they used to do school in general versus how they do now, which is not separating the grades. And back then, if you look at our people, we were actually excelling at a different rate. Like we was all types of stuff. We was going out of the country to get college degrees because they wasn't letting our people get college degrees all the time. You know, like we was out here doing some amazing things, and probably because a lot of them were super smart as young people and got to get exposed to all that stuff at an early age. So they took off when it was actually their time to do stuff versus, oh yeah, Billy, you already know how to do this, but you got to sit here right now and, stay with this subject because Mark and Tommy really don't understand right now. Yeah. But anyway, I see other things in the chat, but that's for another time. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I appreciate you taking your time to come out or to step out and do this interview so we can give people who are in the homeschool community real topics to discuss to generate real conversations to help improve the homeschool experience. So thank you, and I love you, and you have a great day.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.